everybody, and happy Sunday. Well, at least that's the day that I am making this soup on when I'm filming this video. Today I'm going to be making chicken bacon wild rice soup, which is so delicious and so comforting and so not healthy. So disclaimer has been provided. Where I'm from in the Midwest, we have like a local family diner called Simon's, and everybody just loves their cream of chicken with rice soup. So this is my homemade version, but it's kicked up a notch with everybody's favorite bacon. So I guess we'll just start off with our ingredients. This is a super simple recipe. We have 2 frozen chicken breasts, and you do not need to defrost them. They can stay frozen. And then to make our broth, you're going to need a 32-ounce chicken broth or chicken stock, or you can use 3 cans. It's the same amount. We are also going to be using 2 cups of water, and just to not dirty another measuring cup, I will just fill this up halfway. We are also going to be using half of a cup of this Reese's wild rice and half of a cup of green onions. And then separately, to thicken the soup up, you will need to make a roux. And for our roux, we are going to use 3/4 of a cup of just regular all-purpose flour. We're going to use an entire stick of butter, which would be, I think it's a half cup of butter. Is that what it is? Let's check it out. Focus. Yep, half of a cup is 8 tablespoons. And then we will be using 2 cups of half and half. Yes, half and half, people, not milk. This is not healthy, like I said. And then to season it up, we're going to use half of a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, and an 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper. And then in the end, we are going to have 8 slices of bacon that are cooked and crumbled. And then we're going to be adding a tablespoon of diced pimentos. This is just for fancy, y'all. We getting fancy. So the utensils that we need is we literally just need a pot. This is not even a huge one. I guess you would call this a casserole size pot, and a cutting board and a knife and a couple of measuring cups. So super easy. To get this started, we're just gonna get our flame on medium heat. We don't need to be adding any oil to the pan because this is gonna be greasy enough as it is. And we're just going to be simmering off the rice and getting the chicken cooked through so we can shred it. So first thing I'm going to do is open up our chicken broth and get the ingredients in the pot, and then I'll be back because I'm not really good with one-handed stuff. So hold on 1 second. Alrighty, so I've added everything to the pot. Again, just to recap, half a cup of wild rice, half of a cup of green onions, or about 4 green onions, and 2 chicken breasts. Chicken breasts, yes, chicken breasts, people. Chicken breasts. And then our 32-ounce container of chicken stock and 2 cups of water. And as I mentioned before, a lot of people don't realize that a 32-ounce container is exactly 4 cups of chicken broth. So, you know, just fill that back up halfway, and then you've got your 2 cups of water and not as many dishes. So I'm going to bring this to a boil and then cover it and reduce it to, you know, low heat and simmer it for 45 minutes because wild rice takes like forever in a day to cook. And maybe about halfway through, I'll come and check and see if this chicken is nice and tender. And if it is, I'll go ahead and pull it out and I'll shred it, and we'll keep that to the side to add back in when we're done. So I'm just gonna go actually chill out and relax with the fam for a little bit while this does its magic. And I'll be back in a few minutes when we're ready to make our roux and start putting everything together. I decided to come back at you in the meantime. We're still waiting for this to boil and do our bacon. In order to save dishes and mess, I cannot stand frying bacon. It gets the whole top of my cooktop really greasy, and I know this is a little dirty now, but it's so shiny and it's hard to clean. So I do microwave bacon, and I cook it in 2 batches. Mostly just because that's what fits on the plate. So I do 4 strips at a time, and for my microwave, it's 3 minutes and 25 seconds for 4 strips of bacon. So this is what it looks like when they're raw, and I'm just going to sandwich that with 2 paper towels. Pop it down a little bit, and 3 minutes and 25 seconds will come, and we will have this here bacon. So after both batches are done and cooled, I will chop it into smaller pieces, and we are going to reserve this until the very end, and we'll just pop it in the soup. So I thought I would mention that. And I have nothing else to say, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so my bacon is all done and chopped up, and I've got it in a little cup to the side. To make things easy, I went ahead and measured out my 3/4 of a cup of flour, and I've got that sitting to the side with the roux ingredients. And then our chicken was done cooking. These 2 breasts took about 15 minutes. We've got 30 minutes left on the clock for this rice to keep simmering. I'm actually going to turn that down a bit because that is really ripping and roaring there. And I will go ahead and shred these up, this chicken up, and leave that to the side. Because I had mentioned we will toss the chicken and the bacon together in the end with the pimentos. So now I will probably just get the kitchen cleaned up, throw everything in the dishwasher, and then this will come together rather quickly. So I'm gonna go watch some TV with the girls and my husband, and this next couple of steps will come together fast, as I said. Jeez, I'm repeating myself. Okay, so I've got my chicken shredded up. Our timer just went off, so this is what your soup is gonna look like in the meantime, and it looks kind of gross, I know, because we had boiled the chicken in there, but the wild rice is cooked in the broth. And in a separate saucepan, I have our 1/2 of a stick of butter melting down. So we're just gonna let this melt. And this is making our roux. And a roux is basically just like a thick paste of butter and flour, or sometimes oil, that you use as a thickening agent to thicken soups and sauces and stews and things. So let's let this butter keep doing its magic. I'm gonna grab a whisk because we are going to need a whisk. And I'm also gonna need a 1 cup measuring cup. Welcome to my kitchen. To measure out our 1/2 and 1/2. So I'll actually go ahead and get a cup poured off for us. All right. You know what, I'm just actually gonna let this continue to melt, and I'll be back after I pop the flour in and we're whisking it before we add our liquid. Okay, so I popped our flour in, and you're just gonna wanna keep whisking until everything is well incorporated, and we're gonna let it cook and bubble away for a minute, even though it's kind of thick, because we wanna try to cook out some of the flour, the raw flour flavor. Different roux call for different proportions. Usually it's like a 50-50 mix of oil or butter to flour, but this particular recipe just has extra flour, and I don't know if that's because there's so much liquid, but we're gonna let that chill for a second. And then I'm going to take our spices, which, as I mentioned before, is just salt, pepper, and some poultry seasoning. One of the twins is unhappy in the background there. Alrighty, I think that's good. This is really thick actually today. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 of our cups of 1/2 and 1/2. And start whisking away, and this is going to get really thick right away. This roux and this cream actually is more of a paste when we add it to the soup, so don't be expecting like a sauce like an Alfredo. It's definitely super duper thick, but as you can see, we have a ton of liquid here, so we need that thick paste to make sure that everything thickens up. Sorry, I've got a lot of pots going, and I know my talking is not extremely organic right now, so bear with me, I'm not a professional. Oops, I'm getting it everywhere. Alright, it's just really important that we don't have any lumps in this part of the roux. Still looks a little bit thick, so I'm just going to actually swipe a little bit of this hot broth. Super thick. Sorry for the camera angles. I'm trying to like have my arm on the handle of this pan while I mix, because it's hard to videotape everything at once. But that's looking good. So you can see it kind of has the consistency of mashed potatoes. Looks a little nasty, but don't worry. I promise it's going to be good. For this next part, I have to actually add this into this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back because I definitely need 2 hands right now. Okay, so I've added this to our pot with the rice, and I'm actually continuing to use the whisk because we don't want any of that roux to cook into clumps inside of here. We definitely want to break it up because we don't like chunky monkey soup. And as you can see, it's still kind of thin, but this is going to simmer for another 15 to 20 minutes just to, again, cook off some of that raw flour flavor because we weren't able to simmer our roux that long because it's so thick. And the soup will continue to thicken into that nice, creamy, dreamy cream of chicken rice soup texture that we all love so much. So it's already come to a nice simmer. I'm gonna lower it down to medium low again. We're gonna pop the top on this, and but we're gonna keep it vented, so a nice little crack like that. And then we'll add in the remaining ingredients, which is just our chicken, bacon, and pimentos. So I'll be back when this is thickened up. Alrighty, so our soup is nicely thickened up, as you can see. Like, that's what we're talking about. The rice kind of tends to float or get suspended in the broth because it's nice and thick. So now we're literally just going to finish it off by adding our chicken. I'm going to try not to get my whole floor dirty. And you can add more or less chicken depending on your liking, and that's like with everything with the recipe. It's what your family likes. There's our bacon. I'll get that mixed in. Oh yeah, babe. I'm so excited to eat this. I only make it a couple times a year because there's so much butter and heavy cream and half and half or whatever it is in here, half and half. But Lord, sweet baby Jesus, is this good. And then I'm actually just gonna dump about a tablespoon of those. You know what? We're just gonna add the whole thing. This is a little tiny container, so I'm gonna try to scoop these out because we don't really want that liquid. Bear with me, you're going down. Okay. And now we'll get that all mixed in. Man, looking in the camera while you're cooking, it's kind of like, it makes me car sick a little bit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our finished product. I'm just gonna serve it with some toasted bread and butter just to further add to calorie overload. But this is an amazing meal for a chilly fall rainy day, which is what it is here today. So I hope you liked this video, and I hope you're really nice and hungry. And if you try it out, come back and feel free to leave a comment. And if you like this video, if you could hit the like button, that would be great. And if you really want to be awesome, you can subscribe. So I'll take a picture of this in the serving bowl and throw it up as the thumbnail so you can see the final product. But enjoy.